YouTube, welcome back. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. So today's video will be the first of the many videos related to the market outlook series that I'll be dropping every single Sunday. So pretty much we will just do a brief outlook on some of the pairs that we trade. You guys will be able to pretty much understand how I do my market outlooks, pretty much how I prepare for the weeks ahead, and some basic notions around the multiple time frame analysis, because pretty much multiple time frame analysis, that's the base of doing a market outlook, right? So before I get into the video, guys, I gotta do the quick disclaimer stuff, right? I'm not a financial advisor. Any topic discussed here is based upon my own experience and my deep understanding of smart money concepts. So after you watch this video, make sure you do your own back testing, forward testing using a demo account. And if you're happy with your results, then you can move to a live account, right? All right, let's get into the video. So to jumpstart, we can actually go with EUR-USD, right? That's the first pair that we can do an analysis on. So to start, I mean, we can clearly start from the monthly time frame on EUR-USD. So I actually pulled up the Vantage source right here. So now we can clearly see that from EUR-USD, from a yearly time frame, we can clearly see that price, I mean, is bullish, right? We have this bullish structure. We had this previous low that pretty much made this high, then we had the low, and we had this high. So pretty much we can clearly see that the swing structure on EUR-USD has been bullish. We're actually seeing this strong pullback right here towards this yearly bullish POI, probably to see some continuation to the upside, right? So right now, we actually, price actually haven't tapped at this POI. We can clearly see the fair value gap, I mean, close to the POI. So that's pretty much a signal that this is actually a significant zone of reaction, right? Of possible reaction. So then we can see that continuation to the upside. And pretty much that's it, right? Starting from the yearly time frame, we can clearly see that the structure is bullish. We're actually trading inside this range low and range high, right? So from a yearly time frame, we're actually bullish. So then we can drop down, for example, to the weekly time frame, and we can pretty much watch the price action, right? Happening just real quick. Yes. So we can pretty much watch the price action on the weekly time frame towards our yearly bullish POI. We can clearly see that structure. I mean, this been printed this beautiful mitigation, bearish mitigation play right here. We see the break mitigation, the second, third break, and we're actually trying to see price actually coming towards this weekly POI right here. We can clearly see if we drop down, for example, the daily time frame, and right here at the daily time frame, we can pull up the Fibonacci, right? Pretty much just to see the premium and discount levels, right? Now, we can start from that low to that high, which is, this is our swing high, and this is our swing low. We can clearly see the price currently is doing a mitigation around 50% of premium level, right? Because for me, usually I'm totally fine with selling anything around 50% or above 50% of premium level, right? So we have this POI that price is currently reacting at, right? And we also have this extreme that is also a valid point of reaction. Now, if we drop down, for example, to the 4-hour, right? This is pretty much how I refine this daily POI, because the range of the daily POI starts from this low to this high. So I was able to refine this because I saw some sort of a fair value gap right here. If we get closer, we can clearly see that we had this slight fair value gap right here. So price pretty much just filled that fair value gap, had a nice reaction. Now we can drop down. So because this is actually a daily POI that I was able to refine on the 4-hour, you know, it's still a daily POI, right? Still a daily zone. So what I was waiting for is, I was waiting for a 1-hour change of character. So then I can have that continuation that, all right, probably now price would drop to pretty much take out that daily previous low, right? So I actually dropped down to the daily, to the 1-hour time frame, and I saw this beautiful change of character right here that was presented right inside of this 4 daily POI mitigation right there, right? So we had this beautiful 1 hour change of character. So our expectation or the flow is to see price actually respecting this POI and drop to the downside. Now, as we know, right, from previous videos that I've made, that the change of character is never a confirmation of trend shift, right? It's just the first sign of that bearish intention, right? So because we know that our higher time frame directional bias, especially from the weekly and daily, has been bearish, right, towards that yearly bullish POI. We know that this is just the first sign, right, of that bearish order flow for the continuation of the daily bearish order flow. So if some of you guys want, you guys can just set a limit order, especially for people that don't have time to be on the charts, right? The 9 to 5 guys, right? So you guys can use just a 30 pip stop loss, pretty much just to cover the high and target the daily previous low. I mean, this is just for people that do not have time to be on the charts, right? So this can give you about 1 to 9, which is a very good risk to reward ratio. Now, just to increase the strike rate, right? So we can clearly see if this chalk POI will actually hold. I would recommend going to 5-minute time frame and wait for another change of character, and then we can take the trade. So for the week, right, for the week ahead, I'll actually be waiting to see some sort of reaction at this POI on the 3 minutes time frame, and then I can actually take the sell, right? Pretty much just to increase the strike rate. Now, if this POI happens to fail, right, if price actually violates this POI, we still have this extreme daily POI where I'll also be looking for one hour change of character, right? So that's it for EUR-USD. We can move to another pair, which is the pound dollar, right? So now pound dollar actually, if we look at it from the monthly time frame, we can actually see some historical data right here that just happened recently this week, especially with the news release about the tax cut that pretty much just, pretty much just caused a major drop on the pound over the dollar. So we can clearly see that EUR-USD just grabbed this 1985 previous low. So we can clearly see there's this huge, this strong bearish momentum happening on EUR-GBP, on GBP USD dollar, right? And we can drop down, for example, to the weekly. I think from the daily time frame, it's much clearer. So we can clearly see this bearish order flow right here, being in tech break mitigation, a second break, we had a mitigation right here. Now, the point of interest that I had around on Thursday and Friday was this daily POI right here that we can clearly see. This actually was like buy to sell wicks, right? There is a hidden POI on the lower time frame. We can drop down to 4-hour time frame, and we can clearly see this nice 4-hour last up candle before down move right here. So price actually got into this POI, which is what I wanted. I wanted to see some sort of reaction here so I can take this. So we could take the sell and grab this previous daily low, right? So if it's as we know, if it's a daily POI, I would recommend you guys to wait for a 1-hour change of character, right? Pretty much just to give us that signal that, all right, price is about to drop, right, to the downside, right? So some price got to that daily POI, I dropped down to 1-hour time frame, right? So on the 1-hour time frame, I was waiting for that change of character. So we can clearly see that we had this beautiful 1-hour change of character, right? As we know, is the first sign of bearish intention. We can actually wait for, just to get another confirmation, we can wait for 2 breaks of structures on the 1 hour, and then we can drop down to 3 minutes or 1 minute just to further increase the strike rate, right? But this 1 hour was just, beautiful, right? Now, if we drop down, for example, to the 30 minutes or the 15 minutes, right? So I had this extreme POI right here. We can clearly see that we have this last up candle right here before this strong move to the downside that caused a huge momentum right there. We can clearly see some sort of fair value gap. So there is a possibility that price can just drop, from this reaction that we're seeing right here. And if you look at it from a, if we use, for example, if we look from a 15-minute swing structure, right, we have this structure high, structure low, and we have this structure high, and then this low. price actually did some sort of sweep of the previous high. So from a swing perspective, we can clearly see that the structure is still bullish right here, right? So if you want to see some sort of a bearish order flow inside this 1 hour, we will need to see some sort of a break on this low. So it can be some sort of a reaction, right? A failed structure and then a break of structure. So then we can take this POY right here. So I mean, I will still be waiting for price to come to the extreme of this order block towards this POY above, so we can see some sort of reaction. But a second break of structure would just make things a little bit more, it would just bring the odds more in our favor for this, for the long-term sales, right? So that's it for Euro-GBP. We can move to another pair. So Aussie dollar, right? This is actually one of my favorite pairs that I really like to trade. So if we look at Aussie dollar, for example, just from a monthly time frame, we can clearly see something very interesting right here, is that Aussie dollar has been, I mean, bearish so far, right? I mean, for so long, we can clearly see that price actually broke structure right here because we had the structure low, we had the structure high, and then this low right here. Then we can clearly see that price came to the extreme of that swing structure high right here. We had a POY, so we can clearly see price reacted, respected that. So this low failed to do its job, which was to take out the high. So what happens? This low becomes weak, right? It's bound to be mitigated, I mean, to be liquidated very shortly. So we can clearly see this huge momentum to the downside right here, pretty much just favoring our higher time frame directional bias, which is to look for sales, right? So we can clearly see that from the monthly time frame, Aussie dollar has been heavily bearish. Now we can drop down, for example, to the weekly time frame, and we can clearly see this beautiful mitigation play right here on Aussie dollar. I remember, I mean, just a second. Okay, I remember I had this break of structure right here, and I had a POY that was sitting up here. But when it comes to a break of structure, I usually want to see some sort of a some sort of 50% mitigation, right? It doesn't have to come to the extreme around 72.8 or 71.8 fib level, but at least around 50%, that's a reliable zone for me to look for sales. So if you look at it, if you pull up the fib right here from this low all the way to this high, we can clearly see the price came perfectly above 50% and then a continuation to the downside. And then we had this beautiful break of structure, a mitigation, and then a second break. So we can clearly see that the bearish order flow is still intact, right? And we have that monthly low, right? That liquidity, right? This monthly previous week low that is bound to be liquidated very shortly. So pretty much I would just wait to see some sort of react. We can drop down, for example, daily time frame. And from the daily time frame, I actually had this POY right here, right? This point of interest that I would love to see some sort of reaction at this guy. The reason for that is because this high pretty much grabbed liquidity that was sitting at the previous candles. These are pretty much 1 hour structure highs that were liquidated before price engineered this strong move to take out this previous low. So that means that this high right here is what we call institutional candle, right? That liquidation candle before it grabs the previous swing low, right? So there is a possibility that we can see some push to the upside or some reaction at this daily buy to sell wicks, right? So if we drop down, for example, to 4 hour time frame, 4 hour time frame, that this is exactly the POY that I wanted to see some reaction on. Now what happens is that we had this change of character right here. We had price pretty much breaking this high. Now we actually seeing price reacting at this demand zone that was responsible for taking out the previous structure high. Now there is a possibility, because of this huge momentum, there is a possibility that price can just keep, I mean, violate this demand zone, continue to the upside. So then we can look at this as our order block, or we can actually just see price reacting here to push to the upside. So in this scenario, I would just recommend to look for a 15-minute change of character inside this demand zone right here, just to give us that signal that, all right, this low, I mean, this demand zone has been respected, is holding. So we're more likely to see some pullback towards the 15-minute change of character and then a push to the upside. right? So that's pretty much the outlook that I have on Aussie dollar. From a high time frame, we can clearly see that we're heavily bearish, right? And we're trying to target that that monthly previous low, right? So we can move to another pair, which is Kiwi dollar, right? New Zealand dollar. And we can start from the monthly time frame, right? And we can clearly see something pretty much similar to Aussie dollar, right? We had that break of structure, then we had price coming to the extreme of the POI right here, right? We can clearly see price actually came to the cover this high right here. So we can clearly see that we had a break and mitigation, and now we can clearly see this huge momentum right here to grab this monthly previous low right here. But there is something very important that we need to consider, is that if you look at New Zealand dollar from a from a monthly swing structure perspective, we can clearly see we had this high, right? So we had the high, we had the low, then price actually broke structure, right? So we had this push to the upside, then we had this low, price actually took out the previous high, and now we actually trading inside this range low and then this range high. So all of this price action that we're seeing, this bearish price action, is just that bearish order flow towards this pretty much yearly bullish POI, right? So we can clearly see, let me just mark it, the order block right here, which is this down candle. We can see the fair value gap, right? Close to that POI. So we have this demand zone right here, which this order block was responsible for taking out this previous high. So we're currently trading inside this range low and range high. So from a yearly time frame, we can clearly see that New Zealand dollar has been bullish, right? And now we actually see price actually about to take this previous low, which is inducement, right? Probably because this actually was that zone right there, right? So some people probably thought that, okay, we can buy. So now we're saying that if as a means of refinement, we can clearly see that this is just inducement. Price is just about to grab that low, and pretty much we will see some sort of continuation, right, to the downside. Now, if we drop down to the weekly time frame, we can clearly see that price is just very close to this yearly bullish POI. So I don't think price would just do some sort of pullback towards these supply zones up here. It just takes a lot more money to bring price all the way up when it's already close to that yearly bullish POI. So that's what I'm waiting on for New Zealand dollar. It's pretty much for price to come here. I'll be looking for some sort of a weekly change of character in favor to buys, right? That pretty much we can clearly see that we had this low, we had this high. We're about to see now price taking out the previous low, and so this is the high. So pretty much the range, the bearish range, is this one right here. So in order for me to see some sort of in order for me to buy, I will need to see price coming and do some sort of change of character on the weekly time frame, right? So far we can clearly see that New Zealand dollar is bearish, and we're just waiting to see some sort of reaction at this yearly bullish POI. So we can move to another pair, which is EUR-GBP. Now, EUR-GBP, we can clearly see the EUR-GBP, it's been bullish for a while, right? We can clearly see that if we zoom out, we can see that we had this structure high, we had this structure low, then we had a break of structure right here. And then we had price actually coming down towards this previous swing low that was responsible for taking out this previous high, right? So we can clearly see that mitigation. And now our expectation is to see price pretty much taking out this high, right? So right now we're actually seeing EUR-GBP struggling to take out that previous high, right? But if you drop down, for example, to the weekly time frame, right, we can clearly see that we had some sort of a change of character right here, right? We had a change of character. We had a beautiful mitigation right here. So this just created an invalidation point, which means that if price actually breaks this low, it would just invalidate this bullish structure, right? So that's pretty much what we're seeing. We saw this strong push right here after that news release, right, about the tax cuts, right? So now what I'm waiting on EUR-GBP pretty much is to see price doing some sort of reaction at this or the block that was responsible for taking out the previous high. So we can clearly see that we had this first break of structure, we had a body closure right here, we had a mitigation, we have a second break. So pretty much I'm just trying to see some sort of reaction at this POI, so then we can buy all the way up, right? And pretty much this just ties with that outlook that we did on the monthly, right? Pretty much is to see price actually grabbing that previous monthly high, right? So I'm waiting to see what's going to happen in this daily POI, but we know that, and if I mean, for intraday traders, it may take weeks for price to come to this POI. So you can just go on the lower time frame. For example, let's drop down to daily time frame. Price currently from the daily time frame is still bullish, right? Because I mean, we just had this high, we had this low. Price is doing a reaction at this POI right here. So, and there is a huge, I mean, we just have huge imbalances sitting below. So this is another reason as to why price needs to come down towards this zone right here, to this POI, so that we can see a further continuation to the upside, right? But currently price is just reacting at that POI. I would love to see some sort of failure of this low, pretty much price taking out that previous low, so we can pretty much give us a signal that, okay, price is more likely to drop to this POI. But so far on EUR-GBP, we're seeing just price is just pretty much bullish right here from the daily, right? I mean, we can just mark it this POI. We can drop down, for example, to 1 hour to see what's going on. Price just tapped that daily POI, right? So as I said on the previous, on the other outlooks, at daily POIs, I would love to see some sort of a 1 hour change of character. So we can clearly see that so far inside this bullish POI, we see the price is bearish, right? So we had this low, we had this high, we had this solidified low, and price pretty much respected this previous high. We had no violation yet. Now we had price actually coming right here. We can clearly see that this was price failing to put a lower low, which is low reluctancy. So this can just be a signal that, all right, maybe sellers are just depleting, and we will more likely to see some pretty much the buyers stepping in the markets to take out the previous high, and we see the continuation to the upside, right? So pretty much that's the outlook that I have so far on EUR-GBP. And let's move to another pair, UJ, right? So UJ, we can start just from the daily time frame, and the reason for that is because, I mean, UJ has been heavily bullish, I mean, since the beginning of the year, right? We can clearly see that we had this push to the upside, pretty much price grabbed liquidity at this previous low, right? Some people would have considered this as chalk, but that's one of the reasons why I say that I never trust chalks, because chalks is never a confirmation of trend shift. It can just be price grabbing liquidity and then continue the move to the upside, pretty much just trapping everybody right here. So probably there were a lot of people that were looking for this break and retest, and they got taken out, right? So we can clearly see the price just grabbed liquidity. Also, we didn't have a body closure right here. So that was just another signal not to trust this first change of character. And we had this strong push to the upside. Now we have two daily POIs right here, and on UJ, right, which is this decisional, and we have this one that has a lot of imbalances sitting below. So we can clearly see that there was a huge momentum right here. Pretty much that's where the buy orders were stacked, right, just to grab this previous high. Now, to wait for price to come all the way down to this daily POI, I think it will take much longer. So what I would recommend is that we could just drop down, for example, to the 1 hour, look for that change of character, pretty much giving us a signal that, okay, now price is about to do a pullback towards this POI, and then probably see that further continuation to the upside. So let's drop down, for example, to the 1 hour time frame, or just to, or let's go to 4 hour, right? Now on the 4 hour, we can see something very interesting right here, right? If you read structure, we can clearly see that we had this high, we had this low, price then made this high, right? So price made this low, we were seeing some sort of high reluctancy right there, price, but then price actually failed to take out this previous low. Then what happened? UJ just grabbed liquidity that was sitting right here, this double top right here, right? So we just saw pretty much UJ liquidating with this week right here. We saw price actually taking this previous low right here. So now we're actually seeing price actually doing RTO, which is a return to order block. So we're seeing price actually reacting in this week. So what I would recommend, pretty much this is a 4 hour, I would recommend a very clean 15-minute change of character, right, inside this week. So let me just get rid of these brushes so we can mark the POI. So, okay, so I will just mark this week right here. So you can clearly see that this week is higher than the previous week, right? We can clearly see this candle right here. This week actually is higher. So that means that this week grabbed liquidity that was sitting at the previous candle high, right? And then engineered this strong move to the downside, right? We can see this huge bearish momentum right there. So this is just a great signal that maybe we're about to see that UJ pulling back towards this daily POI. So we're now seeing price at the POI right there. A nice 1 hour, 15-minute change of character would be very valid. I mean, we still have this extreme. I mean, we can count this 1 hour extreme last up candle before the down move. There is a possibility that price can just grab all this liquidity right here. We can clearly see some sort of liquidity build up right here, right? Pretty much price just building this trend line liquidity. So there's a possibility that price can just push up towards this extreme, and then we can see a continuation, a push to the downside towards our daily bullish POI, right? Pretty much just to keep that bullish order flow, right? From the high time frame, right? And so for people that don't have time, a limit order right here would have been very valid. I mean, you could just use a 50 pip stop loss, right? And target this daily POI for a nice 1 to 15 risk to reward ratio. But to further increase your probabilities, I would just recommend to wait for price to come here to give you a beautiful 15-minute change of character or a 5-minute change of character. Whichever one presents a much better POI or order block to trade from, I would much recommend you to do that just to increase your strike rate and target this daily POI. And so we can pretty much keep that bullish order flow intact, right? So we can clearly see that as a means of doing a counter trend, we just had a nice confirmation right here, which was price taking out all this structure low and huge momentum on your favor. You can clearly see that in order for price to go from this high to this low, it pretty much just took about 5 candles to the downside. And look at all this, pretty much this low move, right, towards the order block, right? So we can clearly see that the bearish momentum is in your favor for sales all the way to this daily POI, and then we continue that bullish order flow, right? So that's it for UJ, right? We're bullish from a high time frame, but on the lower time frame, such as 1 hour, we bearish. We just had this bearish first sign of bearish intention, right? So let's go to another pair, which is USD Swiss franc. Now, USD Swiss franc, I usually don't trade this pair. I mean, I really like to trade more. I just trade more EUR-USD and Aussie dollar. But if we look at, if we look at USD Swiss franc from a monthly time frame, we can clearly see that price has been quite bullish, right? I mean, it's been bearish. I mean, if you look at from the swing structure perspective, we can clearly see we had this low, we had this high, price then made this low. So our swing structure, swing ranges, we can clearly see we have this range high and we have this range low. So everything that is happening right here is just happening inside this bearish range. So there's a possibility that price can just come all the way to this monthly POI, pretty much grabbing all this liquidity that is sitting up here, right? We see that push and then a drop to grab this previous low, keep that bearish order flow intact, right? But this is from a monthly time frame. That's why I tell you guys it's very important to do a higher time frame, multiple time frame analysis, especially if you start from the monthly. You will be able to better situate yourself and understand what's going on with the pair. If you look at USD Swiss franc has been bearish, right? For even if you look at from a yearly time frame, it's been bearish, right? So there is a possibility that we can see price coming towards this or the block right here. We can clearly see a ton of liquidity that was built right here, that has been built all the way up here. We see this build up of liquidity. There is a possibility that we can see price coming towards this POI. We can wait then for that weekly change of character right here, right? And then we can sell all the way down to grab this previous low. So this is how you determine your higher time frame directional bias, right? So pretty much you just come into the week, the yearly time frame. You just from the monthly, it's enough, right? So we can clearly see that we had a break of structure, a clean OB right here. We can clearly see the imbalances that was left. We can see liquidity, ton of liquidity that was built. So pretty much this is just inducement right here. We're more likely to see some sort of push to the upside and then that drop. Now, if we come to the weekly time frame, right, we can clearly see that price just gave this beautiful two breaks of structures to the upside. Pretty much we had this solidified low, solidified high, and solidified low, right? We had a break of structure right here. We had a mitigation at this order block. We had a second break of structure right here. And then we had another POI mitigation right here, or the block mitigation, right? So we can clearly see that from the weekly time frame, USD Swiss franc is bullish, right? So price comes into our weekly POI. What should we do? We go to daily time frame, right? So in the daily time frame, we can clearly see that we had beautiful structure shift confirmation right here. We had this push to the upside. We had a mitigation. Then we had the second break of structure, right? Now we can drop down to 4 hours just to see the order block. We can clearly see we had this down candle before the up move right here, right? We had this down candle before the up move. I actually refined this POI to 1 hour. So the 1 hour POI is right here. This just to, just brought the POI to the extreme. Now, if we look at from the 4 hour time frame, I actually made a video, the video that I just dropped recently on high time frame directional bias. We saw that this zone right here actually coincides with the break and retest, right? We actually saw the price had reaction here, break, retest, failure to put a high, a break, then we had a retest. And I remember I said on the video that if you marked this POI, this extreme POI, that was very, very valid, right? This is for the break and retest traders, right? That zone for the break and retest traders. But as a smart money, we had this one as well, which was the buy to sell wicks. And we have this extreme where the wall move was engineered. We can clearly see the momentum that happening here. So that's where institutions got involved. We as retail traders, we don't have enough money to cause this huge momentum right here. So if we come to the 4 hour, we can pretty much mark this low right here. This low failed to do its job, which was to take out the previous high. It failed, so it became weak. Price just violated. So there is a possibility that price will come towards this extreme or the block right here. We can clearly see the price just violated that break and retest area, right? So there's a possibility that price can just come to the extreme. We can see reaction here, probably a push to the downside. Or we can just count this week because maybe there is a hidden decisional order block on the lower time frame. So yeah, I will actually recommend to wait for some sort of 15-minute change of character at this POI to give you that signal that they're about to drop towards this daily, and we continue that push to the upside towards our monthly supply zone that is sitting up here, right? This one. So that's it for USD Swiss franc. Let's drop down to gold, right? Now, gold is another pair that I don't trade, right? But pretty much we can clearly see that, as we know, gold is just an hedge against inflation of the USD dollar, right? Of the US dollar. And we can clearly see that gold has been bullish, right? That has been for years, right? Gold has just been a great edge against the dollar. So we can clearly see the structure is bullish, from the monthly time frame. And pretty much we can clearly, if we drop down to the weekly time frame, we can clearly see that price actually just came to this, the last down candle before the up move to take the previous monthly high, right? So we can clearly see that price just gave a nice, beautiful reaction at this down candle before the up move. Price, we had this this build-up of liquidity right here. Price just grabbed, right? So we pretty much seeing price just taking out that liquidity right here, right? And then we're more likely to see price push it to the upside. Now, if we drop down, this is a weekly POI. So what I would recommend in order for me to buy gold, I would want to see some sort of a daily or 4-hour change of character, right? So we can clearly see that as price got into that weekly bullish SPY, we can clearly see that the daily is still bearish, right? Because we just had this solidified low, solidified high, and then this solidified low. So pretty much I would love to see some sort of a change of character to the upside just to give us that signal that, all right, price is now willing to keep pushing to the upside and continue that overall high time frame bullish order flow, right? So far we can clearly see that if we drop to the 4-hour, we see that price actually on the 4-hour we had some sort of a change of character right here. Price actually, we had this low, this high, this low, then price pushed to the upside. Now some people were waiting for price to come down to this POI right here, but most of the times if price doesn't come back and is getting closer to a supply zone, that means that this supply zone is most significant at that particular time than this demand zone, right? Because if they really wanted to push price to the upside at this particular moment, we will see price actually giving this change of character and coming right back into the POI. So that means that there were enough buy orders waiting to be triggered to push price to the upside. So price just kept pushing up all the way to that 4-hour, and pretty much on the lower time frame, there was some nice reaction that you could have taken a sell. But I'm not going over it. I mean, that's not the topic of the video. But on gold right here, in favor for buys, I would recommend you guys to wait for this 4-hour change of character. Pretty much just price to take out this high right here, giving you that signal that, all right, we're about to go bullish now and continue to move to the upside. So far, I mean, from the 4-hour price is bearish, but it's just tapped our weekly bullish POI. So I would just recommend to wait patiently for that daily change of character. Now, let's go to crypto, right? We can just look at Ethereum. So Ethereum, we can look from the monthly time frame, and we can clearly see that, I mean, crypto is just dropping. I mean, right? Crypto has been dropping for so long. We can clearly see that we had this all-time high around almost 5K, right, on Ethereum. Now, my outlook that I had is that I wanted to see price coming down to this last down candle before the up move. That pretty much you can clearly see that if you look at where the move started to take out this previous structure high, we can clearly see that the move started right here. We had this last down candle before the up move. We can clearly see fair value gap right here, which is imbalanced. So this just is another confluence that we bring to order blocks, right? Pretty much very valid order blocks are those who have 3 confluences. We have huge momentum on the break, so we can clearly see the huge volume right here, that institutional involvement. We have imbalances, and we have a clean OB to trade from. So these, we can clearly see the 3 confluences right here. We can clearly see the momentum, huge momentum, imbalances, and a clean OB to trade from. So this pretty much is what I'm waiting to see, pretty much Ethereum coming. I'll wait for Ethereum to come towards this POI, so then we can see the long-term push to the upside. If we drop down to the weekly time frame, and we can just drop down to the weekly time frame, we can clearly see something interesting is that we had this, this break of structure, we had this, let me just mark it, break of structure, some sort of pullback on the lower time frame, then we had another break of structure. Now price actually came to this extreme. I think that we can just drop down to daily time frame to see much how clear that is. So yes, we can clearly see that we had this break of structure to the downside. Price came to the extreme, right, of this daily range high and range low. We can clearly see the price respected that POI. We had this beautiful daily change of character. We had a mitigation, as I said, any mitigation around 50% of the range high and low, I'm willing to take a sell. So we can clearly see, but price just came above 50% at that premium level, and then we had a continuation to the downside. Now we can clearly see that we had this last up candle before the up move. We can clearly see the huge momentum that came in, right? We can clearly see that this is an area where institutions were involved. So on Ethereum, I'm very willing to see price actually coming towards this POI. So then we can clearly see, that further continuation to the downside to grab this previous week daily low, right? I mean, that's a weekly low, right? So I'll much rather I'll wait for price to come here, and we can pretty much, soon price gets here, we can wait for that 1 hour change of character, and then we can look for lower time frame confirmations to take this out, just to increase the strike rate. But if we look at it from the daily time frame, we pretty much just had that bullish, bearish order flow transition, right? Pretty much we just had the chalk, we had a confirmation, pretty much this failed structure, right? This low failed to take out the high, so we had price respecting some sort of hidden order block on the lower time frame. We had a second break of structures, just confirming the bearish order flow, right? Order flow transition always happens after the second break. So I'm expecting to see price pulling back towards this high, and then to that POI, and then a continuation to the downside. Right now, we're actually seeing some sort of consolidation right here. Usually this is a moment where, I mean, institutions are just taking up orders right here. We can clearly see this box. We will most likely see some sort of a pullback, I mean, breakout to the upside, and then a move to the downside, right? So that's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much the outlook that I have for the upcoming weeks. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, right? If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you smash that like button for me. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I see you guys in the next time.